Hi, my name's Cecilia Dahl. I'm on sailing vessel Ring of Kerry, and I've been a full-time working cruiser for the last 3 years. My husband and I travel between Maine and the Bahamas seasonally, and we both run our businesses from the boat from wherever we are. And I know you're going to be getting a lot of information on communications and how to stay connected further on in the webinar. I have put together some slides and some points around general considerations for working while cruising. So I just have 5 points to cover today. The first is really equipment and staying connected and some considerations around that. I won't get too deep into what to buy and what services to subscribe to, but some things that you need to think about when you're cruising and in having that need to stay connected for your customers or your colleagues or your clients. Also setting expectations with all of those folks as well as yourself for what it means to have these obligations and responsibilities of working while you're cruising. How to set up a functional and comfortable working space for yourself. This is something that took me some time with trial and error. Compromising with others on the boat and avoiding unexpected interruptions. So first, just a few things to consider when you're looking at what equipment you're going to be needing for your cruising. It's really important to have the right internet service, of course, depending on what you're doing. But if you are working online and you are staying connected to your business online, it is really important that you have the right internet service to meet your needs with the right bandwidth and the right data. And I highly recommend no throttle backs. That's really important because a lot of people think that they can use their cell phone plan that says it has unlimited data without realizing that unlimited data means not unlimited high speed, it means unlimited slow speed data, and you can't do a lot with that. So you'll learn more about that, I know, in another part of the webinar. I also suggest extending your cell service with boosters, and I know that someone else is covering the exact booster recommendations. Utilize a Wi-Fi booster where you can, and always carry a backup plan or 2 or 3. So I have my unlimited high-speed, no throttle back Wi-Fi in a Netgear box. I have a Wi-Fi booster, I have a cell booster, but I also carry 2 iPads that have purchase on demand cell service, and I have a Skyroam and I have cell service with a hotspot on my cell phone, because no matter where I am, I want to know that I have an option to fall back on. And I don't subscribe all the time, but if I get into a bind, I need to know that I have somewhere else to go to see and get service. And I've never had a situation where I haven't been able to log on one of my services. Sometimes you pay $10 and you get a couple of gigs and it'll get you through a phone call or it'll get you through a Zoom. And I just have those on hand available because you don't want to get stuck. The next consideration I have is setting expectations. So you want to let your clients and customers know in advance if you plan to be away on an extended passage. Working from home, being self-employed or not, or working for someone else, you tend to work more than not, and you tend to stay connected. And I think there's a tendency to try to stay connected more because you're cruising, and you don't want people to think you're not paying attention to the business. So I know for me, I tend to be overly connected, and then people build an expectation. So I try to let people know, okay, we're going to be traveling for the next 2 weeks. I'll be able to jump on calls when I can. Sometimes I might not be able to. And I set those expectations long in advance and clear my calendar for more time than I need. It's also important to understand that commitments are commitments. And in order to maintain your business while you're cruising, you have to sacrifice from time to time a good weather window and wait for the next. Buddy boating becomes nearly impossible because you just can't follow someone else's weather window if you all of a sudden have a call or a client that's needed. So there are some sacrifices that you make for the privilege of maybe getting an early out of the office life and working on a boat, but you don't necessarily get to enjoy all of the benefits of cruising for those who don't work. Also, you have to really be realistic about where you cruise based on your technology needs. We stay East Coast in Bahamas, that's fine for us. Really, depending on where you're going, you have to do a lot of research to understand what's going to be available when you get there. Setting up a functional and comfortable working space is really important, because if you're working like I am full-time, you do want to have a place where you can actually sit up straight, be comfortable and focus, situate yourself so you don't have to move every time someone walks by you on the boat. And ideally, it's great to have a space where you can spread out, keep notebooks and other office things available, so you don't have to go through every day and do an extended setup. This is a picture of me. I work in our salon, and I just sit at the table, and I do keep that laptop to the right of me. I just put it down on the settee when I'm done with the day, and it's there for the next morning. So find the right space for you and make it comfortable and functional. If you're moving around all the time and maybe crouching in different areas, it's not good for your posture, for your back, for anything. So make sure you have a good space. Another thing to consider is compromise with others on the boat. So being the other person on the boat while you're working is not comfortable, and you need to be understanding of this. That person sometimes doesn't know when it's okay to walk by or make noise, or, you know, when can I work? My husband and I both work. So we found it's worked out to talk through expectations, like, you know, when am I going to be on a call with a sales call where I really need it to be super quiet, or when am I on mute? So I have a signal for my husband. I can say, I'm on mute. You can go ahead and make as much noise as you want. I'm just listening to this conference call. So we share basics about how we will be spending our time so that we can work together and someone can live around you without feeling excessively uncomfortable in their own home. But it is tough, and it is something to be aware of when you're doing it. And, you know, don't take it for granted, the fact that someone's being courteous to you so that you can have your space in a really small shared space. So be appreciative of it as well. And lastly is this avoiding unexpected interruptions. One thing that I've noticed is that most cruisers do not expect you to be working, because most cruisers are not working. So they will pop by, they'll knock on the hull and say ahoy. They'll have loud conversations right next to your boat. Sometimes the marina staff actually comes on the boat to do a pump out or something, and they're on their cell phones or talking loudly to each other. They are just not thinking about what's going on with you. And this can be really distracting. And you don't want to be rude and say, you know, I'm antisocial, I don't want to have the conversation. But there are a few tips. So first, you can choose to make a sign that you just place outside your cabin that says, I'm on a conference call, and people will see it and they will know, and they will then avoid knocking and yelling ahoy down your companionway. You could also have, like I have my husband, who's willing to intercept and redirect interruptions. So if someone comes to the boat, he'll oftentimes run up and direct them up to the bow, and they can have their conversation up there. And I've also learned to close hatches and position myself in the quietest part of the boat, so that if someone does interrupt me, it's maybe not so obvious to the people who I'm talking to on the conference call, and they don't hear it. So those are my considerations for working and cruising. I know you're going to get a lot more information from others about just what equipment to use and all that stuff. It's worked for me for 3 years, from Maine to the Bahamas. Most of my clients don't even know my lifestyle. So good luck to all of you in your working on the boat endeavors, and enjoy the rest of the webinar.